We started initially in the area of sales, and we try to explain the sales and buying processes. For our audience, can we give them some of the tips and thoughts in the area of pursuing buyers and finding leads when it comes to sales?
Sure. I think the thing that came out most from the two workshops was the clear idea that buying is a process that the sales community needs to participate in but cannot control. So buyers like to buy, but they hate being sold to. So the real thing is to try and design, especially in an export market, your products, your approach, and your communications to make it as easy as possible for the buyer to relate to you and want to spend time to allow you to sell to them. You cannot just push your product at the buying community. You need to make them a willing participant in your sales journey.
We also discussed the concept of a salesman trying to come closer to the potential customer and try to present solution to his customer and close a deal that's being perceived as a solution to the business and creating a true partnership. Can you briefly elaborate on this?
One of the things that was really interesting to me was how difficult initially some of the group found it to present their product in the way it benefited the customer. So we were talking in everything from, as you say, pharmaceuticals through industrial components and food. Food's a good example. So the food exporters were trying to say why their food was good. But what was clear was that you discovered, and their target market was Iraq, that really the benefit of their food proposal was that the retailers in Iraq would have a more interesting business for their consumers, a more diverse and more upmarket and more trusted business with the Saudi brand. So really, the solution that was being presented was not a food solution, but a solution to the problem for the retailer of how they can attract customers and get more money through their tools. So really, they're saying, we're assisting the retailer to become a more profitable business partner and to attract more consumers. We're not selling food, we're selling profit.
Excellent, and that's also take us to the concept of building a proper capability statements. When I get in touch with my customer, when it's just a matter of minutes, it could be seconds, how can I get my customer from very low interest to slight more interest to might be a great interest? So we also worked with the exporters to help them demonstrate their capability statements and writing and narrowing down various scenarios for this conversation. Can you also give us some thoughts on how to build this kind of capability statements to keep the interest of my clients higher?
I think it's important to recognize that when you call the customer for the first time, you're not trying to sell business. You're really only trying to sell the next stage in the sales process. So the customer who receives your call needs to know very quickly, 45 seconds perhaps, about what you can do for their business and how you can help them to be more profitable. Really, the objective should be to sell, getting a meeting with the potential client to talk about your product. We shouldn't be talking about our product, we shouldn't be talking about the prices, we shouldn't be talking about the terms. The immediate connection is just to get them to say, I'd like to hear more. At that stage, we can look at how we use selling skills to build interest, but the initial call should just be a very short statement of how we are relevant to them and getting their agreement to the next stage. Just sell the meeting, don't sell the product.
Okay, since we are talking about sales in the context of international markets, um, it's a real concern among some of the exporters in selling through various culture that they have some worries about meeting this culture in a common ground, in knowing more about the culture and what could be offensive in a country could be nice and appreciated in another. So for someone who wants to sell globally, what are the key considerations to keep in mind when it go globally?
I think the key consideration to make in mind as you go globally is to make sure that your product has global reach. What I mean by that is that a product that sells well in Saudi Arabia may be very much designed for the Saudi Arabian context. So first thing is, does the product have a purpose in the other markets? And then really use many of the indices, of the reports, of the other local knowledge that's out there to build sensitivity and good business behaviours that we discussed, of asking good questions, making good summaries, developing options and solutions. Excuse me. Those good business behaviours go across any culture. So as long as we're sensitive to focusing on our key sales and engagement skills, we can use local market representatives to check for any unfortunate wording or unfortunate packaging issues. But a good product sold well by good business people will pass over cultures, except for some crazy areas which are easily picked up.
Finally, can we also discuss the idea of closing the deal, closing the sales? When it's a good time for a salesman to decide it's time to close the deal, and when it's time to continue the negotiation, or perhaps just to decide maybe that's not the clients for me.
So the sales process needs to go through a very clear qualifying into quantifying and then into closing. By that I mean we should know what a good client looks like for us. What does good business look like in terms of size, repeatability, scalability, and standard, so that we understand that this business is a good fit with our current business. We can then say, how do we demonstrate to the potential client the value of our product and our solution? One of the dangers is that as salespeople, we try and close too early. We should only close once we have built a strong business case in the client's mind for why our product or our solution is something they need and is attractive to them. And then we should close very assertively. We need to ask for the business. We need to get their agreement to the contract, to the deal. So once we know we have got a good business case with the client, it's then time to move into negotiating the terms of the deal. So the credit terms, the delivery terms. Unfortunately, too often we go to starting to discuss price before we have agreed the benefit to the client. Price should really be the last thing. Be dragged to price. Excellent. Don't give discount until we've agreed that it's something the client wants. They will ask you for a price very early. They will ask you often. You need to know more about their business before you agree to give them a price.
Okay, with this I would like to end this record.